Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this Agape Lifecast evening edition on beta. It is September 19th, and I believe I have some pretty good news for everyone regarding beta. And before I get started, I just want to just let everybody know that, it's going to be okay. It is 2020. And even though we're in the Greek alphabet for a storm, it will be okay. So, taking a look at beta on the satellite imagery, you can see that we have a ball of convection right around the center, but I want to point out some things that are pretty important factors here. First of all, the shear has subsided. We can see the fact that the cirrus clouds are not blowing the convection away near as much. However, one of the things I want to point out, and if you live in Southeast Texas, you've noticed it, we have some drier air in the area, and a little cold front has worked its way through, and you can actually see that in these clouds here. Move my screen there. You can actually see that in the clouds here. This cumulus working its way in. This is indicative of dry air in the lower and in the mid levels, and that is not going to be good for the strengthening of beta. It's I believe, gonna stall the strengthening of beta. Maybe probably keep it from going on and becoming a hurricane. And either way, you're not going to notice much of a difference on whether it becomes a hurricane or not. But you can see this is kind of what we call a closed cell cumulus structure here working its way into the storm. And that's the reason why there's not a whole lot of convection around the center. It's not a whole lot of thunderstorms wrapping around the center. And it's simply because of this dry air that's wrapping into the center. It's giving us a pretty decent day for mid-September here in Texas. So taking a look at what we have here for the track, we have it about 245 miles south-southeast of Lake Charles, Louisiana, and about 320 miles east-southeast of Corpus. Still holding there steady, about 994 millibars, and the winds are about 60 miles an hour. We see that we are forecasting landfall sometime around early Tuesday morning. I would not be surprised to see that stepped up a little bit, maybe sometime Monday, but it could be Tuesday. I mean, this is going to be a tricky forecast, as I'm going to show you guys here in a second. And it's going to really take its time as it crawls along the coast. And as it does that, the rainfall is going to be isolated right along the coast. And that's the other good news about this dry air, is it's going to keep these rainfall amounts. Remember last evening's update, I was talking about some pretty heavy rainfall. Well, this dry air, I believe, is going to keep the rainfall down. And I'm going to show you the rainfall forecast and why I disagree with it. But first of all, here are the tracks. And you can see we still have a very wide spread. We can throw out some of these other tracks here that take it off into Louisiana. That's really not a possibility. There's a pretty good ridge of high pressure forming to the north over Arkansas, Missouri. That's going to drive it to the west-northwest here, probably starting later tonight and tomorrow. And then there's a trough of low pressure coming in to the northwest of it, and that's what's going to slowly move it off to the east-northeast as it approaches the coast. Now, it is either going to get right at the coast and start to do that, or it's going to get right inland and start to do that. And as it's going to still have the moisture of the Gulf to work with, so it shouldn't weaken too much as it does that. Now, that being said, it depends on how far inland it goes. If it goes 60, 70 miles inland, then definitely will weaken. But if it's right along the coast, it'll still have the moisture availability to maintain itself. And if it's right on the coast or a little bit off, then it'll definitely be able to maintain itself. So right now, looks like it's going to come inland somewhere around Rockport, Port O'Connor, Matagorda, somewhere in there, and then recurve slowly and go over Matagorda County, Brazoria County, and then slowly lift out. Now, looking at the precipitation, what we call the QPF, and this is total forecasted precipitation. Well, I have a little bit of a disagreement with this, and here's why. There is a lot of dry air. Now, that is not to say that somebody cannot get some of these totals, but what I'm having a disagreement with is these massive totals over a large area. That is there. That's the reason why I put this map up to the right, and you can see these really low dew points. I mean, we have dew points here near Huntsville in the upper 50s, and Intercontinental low 60s, Hobby 61, Galveston 67, and you can see out here in the Gulf we have dew point spreads of 5 degrees around this tropical system, and that's unheard of around a tropical system. You want your dew point spread in a tropical system to be nothing. You want, upper 70s temperatures and upper 70 dew points. You do not want a dew point spread in a tropical system. Right here we have a 6-degree dew point spread, and that's not good for a tropical system. That's indicative that this is going to really struggle. So that being said, well, I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is this is a lot of dry air for this thing to contend with. And this is going to be hard pressed to put this much precip down with all that dry air. And so I would almost be willing to cut some of these rainfall totals in half. You might see 6 inches, maybe 8 inches in spots, 3 to 5 inches overall. Could we see some isolated amounts to 10 inches somewhere? Perhaps. So we're just going to have to see how it plays out, and I'll definitely be keeping you guys up to date. Now, taking a look at the tides right now, they're definitely high. You can see down in Freeport, about 3.5 foot above normal. As we get down to Sargent, about 2.5 foot. Matagorda, a little over 2 foot. We get over into Galveston, Pleasure Pier, about almost 4 foot above normal. Get over to Sabine, about 4 foot above normal. And these are, as this thing gets a little bit closer to the coast, and it's pumping winds of about 60. If it strengthens a little bit up to about 70 miles an hour, I think that's what they're calling for it. We could see tides about 5 to 6 foot above normal, and that's definitely going to hamper the Bolivar ferry. And with the winds gusting to tropical storm force, that's going to shut off ferry service. So anybody that has business over in that part of Chambers County, plan accordingly. So looking at the experimental storm surge forecast, you can see we're looking at storm surges 2 to 4 foot, and again, I think we're probably definitely going to see a little bit higher than that, maybe up to 5. And I showed you guys the last time we had a storm out there, I showed you guys this graphic here. It's just a storm inundation. So we're looking at around 1 to 3 foot, a little bit higher in some spots around the San Bernard Wildlife Refuge, looking at 3, maybe higher than 3 foot. And how you get this is you go to the NHC's website and you click on the storm surge inundation, and you can actually zoom in. This is a scrollable map. You can zoom in, zoom out, and go to your area. Looking at the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, we can see right along the coast sometime Monday morning. Now, certainly you're not going to get that inland. You're not going to see these winds inland. If you're sitting up in Lindale, Texas, you're not going to see tropical storm force winds from this. So my friends up there, get it out of your mind. It's not going to happen. That's not what this map is showing you. That is, if things were to go south and things, worst case scenario, that's what you would see. So because you can see what it's also showing you is what's the likelihood of that happening, and you can see up here you got a 10% chance of it happening. So in other words, not going to happen. However, along the coast, you can see you have a 60% chance of it happening. Right along the coast, you have a good chance of it happening, and that good chance is going to happen sometime Sunday evening, Monday morning. There's a real good likelihood of that happening. And I want to wrap up with some forecasts. And I put a couple of forecasts up here just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at for next week. First forecast is for Freeport. Second forecast is for Port Lavaca. So a little bit down the coast, right around where they're forecasting landfall, and it's probably a pretty good guess on where landfall is going to be. You can see tropical storm conditions in Freeport with hurricane conditions possible. I think that's probably a little overdone. I don't believe hurricane conditions are likely. But what you need to know is with a storm like this, especially with the dry air around, I don't think that you're looking at much of a difference. Okay? It's going to be borderline tropical storm, hurricane. And in a situation like this with the dry air, this is not a Laura and this is not a Harvey. Every storm is different and beta is going to be different. And so, as I was explaining to a good friend of mine here just about an hour ago, this is not going to be much different than a really strong norther that we get, where you get these really strong northeasterly winds or northeasterly winds, and sometimes they're blowing 40 miles an hour right along the Gulf Coast. This is one of those deals where you can get a sustained wind about 30 miles an hour, gust of 40, and it just blows. And that's what we're going to see here. And it's the difference, I believe, with this is it's going to do it for several days. That's the unusual aspect here. And that's going to be the factor in driving these tides up. This is just going to be a sustained event that we're going to have to deal with for a while. So the last thing I want to show you guys is where you can get some of this information. The first link I have here is the link to your local forecast office. It's www.weather.gov/HGX. That is the local forecast office for Houston Galveston. And if you don't want to put it into HGX, just go to weather.gov and you can just type in Houston, or you can type in Lake Jackson, Angleton, whatever, Port Lavaca, and you just type in that and it'll take you to your local forecast. And the next one is nhc.noaa.gov, and that is where you can go and get some of these graphics here. They have really good graphics. You can get the rainfall totals, you can get the peak surge, the flash flood potential, you can actually get the static images to see where the hurricane track is going to go, and you don't have to wait on people like me. So I'll be updating this and definitely keep you guys informed. But the bottom line right now is there's a lot of dry air around, and that should keep the intensity of this system down. So until next time, may God richly bless you. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this edition of Agape Lifecast. And whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, I ask that you do me a favor. Please like the video and share it. And if you haven't already done so, please like the Agape Lifecast Facebook page and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, may God richly bless you and keep you.